All right, well, we'll get started. I anticipate there might be a few more people joining us as time goes on, and we'll welcome everybody in as they arrive. My name is Leonie. I work with Epilepsy Queensland, and I'm part of the National Peer Support Program. And you might have seen the invitation for this event either come through the peer support program or through your local state-based epilepsy organisation under Epilepsy Australia. Before we get too much further, I'd like to just do an acknowledgement of country. So I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. And we do have people meeting from around our beautiful country. I'm in Brisbane, so pay my respects to the Yagara and Turrbal people. I pay my respects to the elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who may be joining us this evening. We recognise their continuing connection to land, waters, culture and community, and thank them for their enduring care of country. As we come together for our webinar this evening, we honour the knowledge, strength and contribution of First Nations people. I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware that we are recording the presentation, so we can make that available to people who weren't able to join us tonight, but this information is very valid and definitely something that a lot of our community is wanting some information on, so we'll make that available as well. And it's a nice resource to go back to at any other time yourselves if there's anything you want to kind of watch and listen to again. I'll hand over to Paul in a moment. I'm not going to take too much time, so we can certainly maximise our time with Paul from Seizure Alert Australia this evening. But just in terms of how the session will work, as I mentioned earlier, if you're on with us, that I think the default with the webinar is you start with your camera and your microphone off. If you'd like to turn your cameras on, you're more than welcome. At the same time, if you'd like to keep them off this evening, that's fine as well. In terms of microphones, we just asked if you can keep them off just to reduce some of that background noise as well. If you would like to ask any questions throughout the presentation, Paul's fine with that way of engaging. Similarly, if you prefer to write any questions in the chat, I'll endeavour to keep an eye on the chat and bring up any questions that haven't been answered as well. And we'll leave a bit of time at the end to make sure if there's any questions people might have that we can answer those as well. So without taking up too much time, and thank you for your time this evening, I'd like to introduce Paul. Paul has very kindly given us some time this evening to talk about some of the assistive technology options that are out there, both current and potentially new products that you may not have been aware of, and answer some of your questions there as well. So I'm going to now hand over to Paul. Thank you, Paul.
Great, thanks, Leonie. Welcome everyone, and thanks for joining tonight. I'm one of the owners with my wife of Seizure Alert Australia, and I'm pretty proud of the business that we've built from the ground up, from nothing to where we are now. And I guess it's on the back of our own daughter experiencing seizures, so we have first-hand experience, and we actually use devices as well with her, so we understand how they work, and we can understand and empathize with parents when they're newly diagnosed, because we've been through that whole process as well ourselves. And it's a very challenging time, and we can empathize with that. So I just want to start out by I guess really emphasizing that neither my wife or I are medically trained. We just have, like I said, a lot of lived experience, and we can understand what parents are going through and understand how the devices work really well, but we're not medically trained. So if there's any sort of medical questions, it's best to refer to paediatricians, neurologists, doctors, and so on. But we'll just give a general overview of the products tonight and how they work and what the best use situation is. And then, as Leonie said, just go through some of our key products. I won't go through everything in a lot of detail, but I'll just go through those as we get to each individual product. If you have any specific questions about that product or how it functions, feel free to ask a question. I probably, when I'm in presentation mode, probably won't see you put a hand up or something. So yeah, maybe either put it in the chat or Leonie will be able to moderate that as well. So
Yeah.
feel free, either put it in the chat, type it out, or yeah, put your hand up and Leonie will pull me up and we'll answer questions as we go.
I think the first one was around Seizure Alert Australia.
That's it.
Yep.
Yeah. I think I already loosely touched on this, but yeah, we started early, in around about April 2019. Our daughter was born in 2017, so it was kind of on the back of her having seizures within the first, I think it was 3 days or 5 days of being born. She had her first lot of seizures, and so we kind of walked that path of not sleeping, and we started out using a baby monitor, which was it sounds great, but they're actually counterproductive because you actually lay awake watching it or half awake trying to listen to sounds. Then we got a motion detection security type camera. That was even worse. So we sort of went through the whole process, and funnily enough, when we talk to parents with young children, especially newly diagnosed, they actually follow almost the same path as we followed as well. And then at the time, back in 2019, there's actually no products that we could find available in Australia outside of a mat, which is not ideal for an infant. That was available locally. People were sourcing, and we joined Facebook groups like you do when you're newly diagnosed, and people were sourcing these from the US. And so we started with the Semi 3 camera, and people buying them from the US. And so we thought that we'd like to be able to try and help others that were going through the same thing as us. And we reached out to Charles at the time, who's now handed it over to his son, Matt, but reached out to Charles. And so we started with the Semi camera, and then we sort of grew from there. But I guess with in that time, we've sort of expanded our range from just the Semi camera to now multiple different devices and other sort of safety type equipment as well. So it's and probably in the process have become probably out of the 3 or 4 or 5 different businesses in Australia that sell seizure monitors and devices, probably the most well known given our range, and that we only specifically provide products for that niche, or that for epilepsy only. Where many others are providing it for others as well. So yeah, that's where we're up to, and that's how we sort of come about to where we are. So I said to Leonie, if you went to slide 4, I wasn't particularly happy with the way this looks visually, but I think the flow works. So when someone calls us up, newly diagnosed, and they're asking, and the first question is, well, what's the best monitor? And it's just like, well, I don't know. So we have to go through a series of questions to be able to understand each situation, because everyone's journey is different, right? So, and again, I think Leonie might be able to correct me on this, but there's about 50 odd different seizure types that have been identified.
The ILAE, so the International League Against Epilepsy, has recently put that into 21 categories, which is around 70 odd seizure types.
70, so even more than I'm thinking. So one seizure for someone can be different to someone else. So when someone just says, what's the best seizure device for my son or my daughter, the honest answer is I don't know. So we go through a process of sort of trying to work out what the situation is. Are you looking to monitor for day or night, for while someone's sleeping, or you're looking to monitor someone who is maybe a teenager or an adult who is in the community? It's often, if you've got a severe disability, you'll always have someone with you. If you're not so severely disabled and you've got a level of independence, then you might actually go out into the community on your own at times. And so you might need to have some type of a daytime monitor as well. So we sort of ask, are you looking for daytime or nighttime monitoring? Probably 80% of people are looking for nighttime monitoring while people are sleeping or while their children are sleeping. And then we look, is the person with their disability, do they have any sensory processing disorders that might prevent them from wanting to wear something? Because we have wearable type products and we have non-wearables. There are many, many instances where someone won't tolerate wearing something. So remembering the wearables need to be worn and not fiddled with, not played, not twisted around, and so on. So they need to be sort of left in situ. So that's important where the sensory processing disorders, that they will tolerate wearing it. If they won't, then we just have to look at the non-wearable options. If it's either or, if they will wear it, that opens up a sort of a broader range of products that we can look at. And then we look at the seizure type that the person has as well. Well, probably, sorry, go back a step, how old the person is. So are they an infant? Are they under 4? Are they under 6? Are they a teenager? Are they an adult? Because there's sort of different things here around this nighttime monitoring. So if we look at the wearables with the night watch, if we look at seizure types the person's having, you can see from the night watch that actually has broadest range of seizure types in its registration. So the night watch is a class 2A medical device registered with the TGA. It's actually also registered in US with the FDA, just probably in the last 3 months, they got the registration there. So FDA is actually quite stringent to be registered there. So they've gone to a lot of work and done a lot of trials to prove the efficacy of the night watch. That's also registered in Europe as well, but it also has the broadest range of seizure types. And then the newer product in the portfolio is the Epi Monitor, which is the replacement of the Embrace Sympatica Embrace watch. So the Embrace has been superseded by the Epi Monitor. That will work for nighttime and for daytime, but it's only registered. It's a class 2B medical device with the TGA, but it's only registered for tonic-clonic seizures. And then there's our non-wearables. So the SAMI-3, which is a camera motion detection system. It's a two-part system with the camera and an app. The app is where the algorithm is built into. So the camera itself doesn't have the smart technology. It's the app that does all of the heavy lifting. And then there's the Alert It, which is a new range of products. We'll go into a little bit more detail in a minute about what they are, but they're under mattress, so not on top of the mattress, but under the mattress bed sensors, which is really important for someone who does have sensory processing disorders, that won't tolerate lights, won't tolerate leads, won't tolerate any kind of fiddly things. So it's a hidden device that's hidden under the mattress. And it's out of sight, out of mind in that case. But again, it's only registered for tonic-clonic seizures. The SAMI-3 is actually not a registered device. It's considered a consumer device. It's not a registered medical device. So it can't make therapeutic type claims about what it can do, but what it does do is monitor sleep activity. So if there's a sleep activity that is consistent with continuous movement, then based on the parameters within the app, it will sound an alarm. It's highly customizable in those settings within the app. Quite intuitive. It's on an Apple device. So Apple's quite an intuitive platform. The app is quite intuitive with the settings as well. Can have a brief look at that in a minute as well. And then if we switch to our daytime monitoring, again, what is the seizure type that the person's having? Absent seizures. So the only device on the market for absent seizures is the Epi Hunter, which is a wearable. We don't have that on our website right at this point in time because that's been submitted to the TGA for medical device registration. So going through the process of that as we speak. So previously it was a consumer device. It's had some upgrades and things, so it's upgraded in its technology. So we've made the submission to the TGA, so it's under review right now. So hopefully, I don't know, within the coming weeks that will come through and be registered there as well. But it's a wearable headband. Again, the headband is just the data collection device. It has a couple of electrodes that sort of sit here on your left temporal area, which is where absent seizures take place. And then it sends the data to an app again. So the app is where all of the work takes place. And then the app reads the brain waves from that particular area of the brain and determines when a seizure might be happening. Absent seizures don't tend to be violent or someone potentially won't fall over. They might just pause for 5 or 10 seconds and then continue on their way as if nothing happened. So it's very good. I mean, we've had many people buy it, especially with teenage kids that are studying and stuff. If they're sitting at their desk, it works very well in that situation. If they're studying on their laptop and they can have the device sitting next to them and they can record number of absence seizures the person is having. It creates logs, and then you can use that data then to provide your neurologist if if you're having a lot, then might need to look at making some adjustments to medication or doing something else as well. So it's not so much a safety thing; it's more just about monitoring the number of the seizures that are happening. And then there's the Epi Monitor again, which is just for tonic-clonic seizures for daytime and for nighttime. And then if there's any other seizure types that someone's having, like someone asked before about focal seizures, I mean, depending on, I think I spoke to someone yesterday. This child was having focal seizures, and one of their arms was affected, so their whole arm was shaking. So in that situation, there might be something that's suitable, but there's actually nothing registered for anything other than what I've listed on the screen there. So basically, tonic-clonics. I'll say all these words, but I'll just So tonic-clonic is when I'm referred to tonic-clonics, I think everyone knows what it is, but basically it's like you see a seizure on a movie, that's usually a tonic-clonic. It's visual. Clonic seizures are just a seizure where there's stiffening occurs. So you might see the person arms and legs will be straight out and their back will be arched and probably their head rolled back. Maybe roll their head in their eyes, the eyes in their head as well. And so they'll be really rigid, so very stiff. Myoclonic and hypermotor are more like logically related, and so they get picking type motions as well. So just move on to, so the first product is the Night Watch. The Night Watch Plus is the new version. So the Night Watch original was superseded by the Night Watch Plus around about July last year, so about 12 months ago. So this particular it's been on the market for about 12 months. It's a simple device. There's no real setup required with this one. Only setting up is a blue armband you can see in the image there. So that just needs to be cut to length. In the box, you get I think it's a meter or 1.5 meters of elastic band. So you just cut that to length. With that longer length, you'll get multiple lots of use out of that. So you get quite a considerable amount of time before you need to replace anything. And that's really the only setting up. So you get it out of the box, you make sure it's fully charged, which it usually is, but you make sure it's fully charged. You turn it on and slip the armband onto your arm, and that's it. It works. As simple as that. And so the way this particular device works is that it looks for two things. So it has motion sensor with a accelerometer built into it, so it can detect movement, so shaking movement consistent with a seizure, and the accelerometer can actually measure the force of the movement as well. So the data can be uploaded to a portal, show you, not only can it show you movement, can actually show you the force of the movement as well. So if it was subtle movement, like a tonic seizure where the person, like I said, explained, was just stiff, often, and you can do it yourself, if you push your arm out straight and really tense your muscles up, you kind of see it shiver. So shivering motion will trigger movement sensor, but show it's got very low force. Kind of then correlates on the graph that low force but a lot of movement. The other sensor is a heart rate monitor as well. So it has a heart rate sensor built into it, and so that will measure your baseline while you're sleeping. So hypothetically, your baseline of resting heart rate might be 60 beats a minute. Typically, not always, but typically when a seizure occurs, your heart rate will jump up to maybe 160, 200 beats a minute very, very quickly. And so when that happens, the device will actually sense that has happened. Typically, that'll happen in conjunction with movement as well. So then that triggers an alarm on the base station. There's no sound on the Windows end. Just see someone has a question while I was hand up politely.
Chelsea, I might need you to help me with this. I just can't see people or the reactions. Can you see who that is?
Celine, I think.
Oh, Celine?
Yes,
Yeah,
I'm
feel free to unmute yourself, Celine, with your question.
I'm just asking this on behalf of Celine. Would this product
Sure.
work for a seizure where you wander around, like where you get that disorientation and you wander around? Is there anything that would trigger this product for in that process?
So this product is designed for sleeping. So it also has a sensor in it that can detect when you're horizontal. One of the limitations of it is that sometimes when someone has a seizure, their arm might go up in the air, which then tricks it into thinking that you're standing up. And so then it can lower the sensitivity settings within it. So if the person is up and walking around, then triggers that sensitivity change. And so
That's better.
Yeah. Okay, so it can detect when you're standing effectively.
Yeah, that's right. That's to reduce false alarms. So if you get up through the night and your heart rate changes, obviously, as you're walking around. So that's just to reduce false alarms. If, however, that person was to have a tonic-clonic seizure while if they got up in the middle of the night to maybe use the bathroom or get a drink or something, and then they happen to have a tonic-clonic seizure and collapse to the floor and had the seizure, it will still alarm, but it does take a little bit longer for it to alarm because it's in a lower sensitivity mode when they're up and about. Does that make sense?
It does.
Would it
Yeah.
would it be better to have this over the SAMI?
Yeah, we'll talk about the SAMI in a minute. Some of the limitations around that. Yeah,
that's fine.
Would it work for? Will the night watch detect clusters of tonic-clonic seizures if it's most likely in the leg? If the seizure's in the leg, and in the leg only, then that would be probably more like considered a partial seizure or something similar to that. I'm not sure exact term what that would be. The night watch is registered for it's being tested. Registration is for it to be worn on the upper arm and preferably the left arm. It can, however, and it works very, very well if it's also fitted on the lower leg just above the ankle. Similar to wear an ankle bracelet. So if you were aware that someone's leg was what was mostly affected, then you can actually wear it on your leg as well, and it's highly effective there as well. And so the data, so the night watch actually continually monitors data and it uploads it to the internet. It doesn't have any memory within the base station, so it does need to be hardwired using an Ethernet cable to a modem or a router. So it's got continuous data upload. So there's no memory stored, so you can't have it disconnected, use it, plug it in. It won't have any data to upload, so it needs to be a live upload. So it needs to stay connected continuously. A simple way of doing that often is just if you don't have an Ethernet port that's close by where the base station would be located, you can get a range extender, Wi-Fi range extenders. There's numerous brands of those and different models, but a simple one is less than $100, and you can plug it into the same power point that the base station is plugged into, and then that gives you connectivity wherever the base station is. As long as obviously that range extender can detect your home Wi-Fi, then you're good to go. Data that it uploads is the heart rate data, as I said, motion data. You can see on that table there that there's high and low R's, so that's the force of the movement. And then the bottom one is the sensitivity. And recall I said about the high sensitivity and the low sensitivity, whether you're standing or laying. So that'll tell you what's happened during that time. And then it also pins. You can see the little red, that's actually a bell, the little red bell that's gone off. As the heart rate's gone up, you can see the heart rate spike. As I explained, when the seizure occurs, the heart rate spikes. It's gone. I've tested it. Not through heart rate change, just through movement, and it was going off in about 5 to 6 seconds when it's in high sensitivity mode. When it's in lower sensitivity mode, it takes more like 10 to 15 seconds for it to go off. So it works really quite well. And then you can use that data. You can see on the left, that's every time it's worn, so it collects data every day that it's worn. See the ones where there's been an alarm. You can create that into a report. It's an online portal and it's web available, so anyone can access that portal if you have the login details. So You don't need to like create a report and download it to take it to a doctor. You can actually just give them the login details and they could log in from their desk at work and then see that data if you're happy for someone to access that. There's no real identifying data in the information in there. It's quite, as you can see, it doesn't really tell you much about the person, just some health time. So then there's the EpiMonitor, which we just spoke about before, which is quite a new product. So the EpiMonitor is the newest version of the Embrace from Empatica. So it's very much the same as the Embrace. It's a watch, as you can see in the upper right picture there. Watch you wear on your wrist like a regular watch, and connects through an app. So the actual watch itself doesn't do any of the sensing. It just collects the data and then it sends it through to the app, which is on the phone. So the phone, whether it be Android or iPhone, needs to stay within Bluetooth range. Now, range of Bluetooth, I get asked that a lot. The range will actually depend on the model of the phone and the brand of the phone. Some have better Wi-Fi than others, and I think the more expensive you buy or have, then the better Bluetooth signal. It's usually, some of the newer ones can be sort of 20 meters. I tested my Bluetooth yesterday and it was about 20 meters and it started to break up. So basically you would need to have the phone in your pocket or bag or something is ideal when you're walking around. This product is good for daytime monitoring if you're out in the community. It will make a phone call through the app to nominated emergency contacts in case something happens. It also, through the app, monitors your sleep metrics or sleep activity, your daily activity like steps and things like that. So it does tracks a lot of health data as well as monitoring for seizures. Interesting thing about this device as opposed to others is that it doesn't actually track heart rate. So it kind of looks like it does because on the back of the watch it has the little lights. What it's actually doing is it's this is very medical and I'm not 100% clear on how it works, but it's called transdermal electropathy, I think it's called. So basically it's kind of like measuring the electrical conductivity of the skin, and then they're found through trials and research that when a seizure occurs, that changes. And so this is looking for that change in that skin conductivity, and then based on that, and then it also has a motion sensor in it as well. So based on both of those different parameters, it will alert if it feels like it's detected a seizure. If you want to just move on to the next slide.
Yeah.
Sorry, just before we go on,
yeah.
Is there a way with the EpiMonitor to actually have a look at a dashboard where you can actually see a graph or a chart with that ventral EDA sensor or the advanced optical PPG, or even the other motion sensors that it's got in there?
Yeah, so sorry if you go back again.
To the graph?
Yeah, no, to the...
It's like that. We'd like to see something like that in the EpiMonitor.
Yeah, so you see, it's a bit hard to see on this, but you can see in the background there, it's sort of showing some bars and things. That's within the app. There's nothing like what you've just described that's there, but I can definitely pass that information on so that they can.
Yeah, I'm just wondering whether it's in for the practitioners or the researchers, whether they can see that information. But because we just bought that EpiMonitor system recently, and we were hoping to see dashboard wise what could trigger these seizures, and all we get is a message saying, oh, you better attend to your patient because he's might be having a seizure. And then we see those dashboards there that you see there, but that's it.
Yeah, yeah. So have you tried logging into the online version into your account?
It's the same, I'm pretty sure. I'll have another look.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. But I'll pass that on to the developers. I mean, they're always looking to make advancements with it.
Thank you.
Yeah. No problem. So Brooke's got a question there.
Oh, sure.
I just got a quick question. With the EpiMonitor, is there like GPS on it by any chance? As I suffer from tonic-clonic seizures myself, uncontrolled, and say, for instance, I'm down the street and my partner or someone I live with has no idea, would they be able
Yeah.
to get the location where I'm at? Sorry,
So,
you've already said it, but
No, I haven't. No. So the short answer is no. So the best option in my opinion is I mean, it says there alert location, but I think the best option is to have like Life 360 or something on your phone, because your phone's going to be connected to the app anyway. That's
Yep.
to me a better option. We use that for our own family, and it works really well. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
And that's a free app as well. You don't have, there's a free version of Life 360. Or if you've got Apple, there's also, Find My Phone and things like that as well, which are pretty accurate.
I've got
Yeah.
Live 360 on my phone now, so I use that.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. So this is the only device that actually requires a subscription as well. So you purchase the watch outright, and then there's 2 subscription options. So there's the standard and the plus. And so I've put that table there just to kind of outline the differences between the two. One of the couple of the key ones is with the standard, you only get up to 3 different caregivers. So when you set the app up, you can put in. So what happens? Sorry, we'll go back. When it thinks it's detected a seizure, it signals the phone to make a phone call. It goes into your emergency contacts within the app, and then it will make a phone call to them, and it'll get through up to 3 for the standard and up to 10 on the plus model. So depending on how many people you want to alert. There's also the option of a manual alert, like almost like a panic button, if you like. So on the side of the watch, there's a button you can press to, if you feel, some people will feel an aura, or they might feel a little bit funny before a seizure occurs. And sometimes, I mean, not everyone, but some people will be able to sense when a seizure is approaching, or they might just feel off. You can actually make an emergency call by pressing that button on the side of the phone. So it's almost like a panic button in a way.
And Paul, can you
also
cancel that as well if you need to?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you've pushed it, but actually, no, I'm feeling okay, or I pushed it by accident. Can you cancel that?
Yes, you can. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it has a countdown come up on the screen. It says it'll make a call within the next 10 seconds unless you cancel it. And the same thing happens when it thinks it's detected a seizure. So what can trigger a false alarm is like physical activity. So if you within the app, if you know you're going to go and play sport and you're wearing your watch, you can change within the app the sensitivity of the settings from like a high, medium, and low. And that's to avoid false alarms, because obviously if you're running, your heart rate's going to go up and your arms are shaking because you're running and so on. If for whatever reason you forget, or even when it's in low and it triggers an alert, you can still manually cancel it as well, because it'll come up on the phone. On the watch to say that it's going to make an emergency call in the next 5 or 10 seconds. I can't remember. I think it's 10. Let you cancel it.
Okay.
So that's just something to be mindful of. That it can trigger false alarms if you forget to change the mode on it. And the other differences are the sleep and activity diary. You only get like 7 days of history in the standard, and then you get like a lifetime one with the plus. And then you get trends, and you can export PDFs as well with the plus, where you can't with the standard. So that's sort of the main differences between those. Yep. And then moving on. So this is a newer product as well. So this is Alert It. This is out of the UK. This is a product made by Abilia. So Abilia are quite a large company based in Europe, Sweden, I think, that actually also own the MFit seizure mat. They own the Alert It range, and they actually also recently bought the Night Watch company as well. So they're big in the epilepsy space, but they actually got quite a lot of products in aged care and other things like Parkinson's and things like that as well. So they're sort of really big in that entire space. The Alert It acquisition by Abilia was not that long ago, so that just shows, I guess, their faith in the device and how well it works. So there's 3 different products within the range. So this one we're looking at on the screen is the Companion Mini. If you maybe just want to go to the next slide, so I haven't got a heap of time left. So the Companion Mini, it's just a little simple device. It's not overly big. But as with all of these different devices, they actually go under the mattress. So they go between the mattress and the base. So think if you've got slats, you put it on the slat of the bed, like on the wooden slat. The small one's got straps on the back that you can make sure it doesn't fall off, and the other ones have got fixtures as well, so they don't fall off. So they're very, very sensitive, and they can sit under the mattress, and they can detect the movement of the mattress or through the mattress of the person. If you've got a really big bed, like a king size bed, it's probably not ideal. It's because obviously you don't need to be directly over it, but you need to be somewhere near it. If it's one side and the person's on the other side of a king bed, it reduces the accuracy considerably. So you just need to consider that. But the Companion Mini is a very simple plug and play device. It just plugs in. There's no cords, there's no lights, there's no bells and whistles. Goes under the mattress. You turn it on, you go through a small configuration process, and it just works. It just works though for repetitive movements. So those things that are consistent with tonic-clonic seizures, but also when you start to talk about partial seizures and things where maybe one leg or one arm is twitching or shaking, it'll pick up that continuous movement. So that movement, to avoid false alarms, needs to continue for 20 seconds. Now, you can override that in the settings and change that, but 20 seconds is kind of a bit like the gold standard. So most devices are set at about 20 seconds, and that's to avoid false alarms, but still still alert early enough during a seizure that you can render help and the person is seen too quickly. So that's a very, very simple device, reasonably cost effective as well. One of the other key things with that device and the other two as well is that it has a pager set up, so you can see the little pager there on the screen. It's about it's not much different. You can't see that in size to like a phone. It has a range of 350 meters. So really works well if you have someone in a granny flat out the back, or if you've got a long house, or often if someone's in a double-story house, that can cause issues with signals between devices carrying through floors and things. And even if you're in like an apartment building, they tend to have quite thick floors and fire retardant and things between the floors, so it tends to block the signal. So this particular device is very good for the range, and really quite accurate in picking up that repetitive as well. Probably for me, out of the three, the Companion, the one in the middle, is probably one of the better options of the three, because it has a bigger base. The base is approximately 30 centimeters square, so quite large. So it's got a bigger sensing area, and the thickness of it is probably about 10 or 12 millimeters thick, about the size of a MacBook. I've got an Apple MacBook, about the thickness of that, similar size to that. And again, it goes under the mattress. This one does have leads though, but can be hidden. So if you, like we said earlier, if someone has sensory issues and the cords bother them and they might likely play with them and pull them out, then you can actually hide that, because you don't actually need to see that little box, because it's the transmitter. So it's sensing the movement from the sensor, and then it's sending a signal out to the pager. So same pager as what's in the first one. And again, it goes out to 350 meters as well. So it out of the box picks up repetitive movements. Again, with that 20-second pause, and highly effective, very, very sensitive. What you can actually do with this device is add a moisture sensor. So you can add like I think it's called an anuresis, where someone might maybe during a seizure might wet the bed. You can add that sensor to it, sound, and also bed vacation as well. So if someone happens to fall out of bed or get out of bed during, as someone mentioned before about getting up through the night, you can add that bed vacation sensor as well. And so if the person happens to leave the bed, then it will alert the pager as well for that. So you've got those multiple things, and they're quite inexpensive. I think $150 or something to add each one of those on. So not very expensive to add on those extra layers. And then the third one does all the same things, but it has, it's called shallow. It's not very descriptive, but shallow is referring to shallow breathing.
Sorry.
Yeah, you're right. So shallow breathing. So it actually is so sensitive that it will actually it can actually detect your rise and fall of your chest. And so then if your breathing rate drops below a certain threshold, let's just say it's set for 10 breaths per minute, falls to 6 or 7, then it'll alarm because of the shallow breathing. And that's what they're referring to when they call it shallow. There's quite a considerable more to do with setting up that particular device because of that. There's a lot more things to do. In terms of simplicity, probably the Companion Mini is the easiest, but the Companion in the middle is probably not that much harder, offers you the additional features or add-ons, and has a much bigger sensor base as well. So probably in my mind, out of the three, that's probably the better option out of those ones. So again, highly effective products. And then this one, probably most people would know or have heard of the SAMI before. Excuse me, I've just got a bit of a cold. So SAMI basically has two parts. So there's the wireless camera, as you can see in the image there. The camera itself is not actually really doing the work. It's just detecting. It's just showing the video. And the two rings you can see around the center is they're infrared lights. And so they allow the camera to see in zero lux. There's the zero light, external light. Those infrared lights actually allow the camera to see in perfect darkness. So it actually gives a really good picture. It is in black and white at nighttime. In daytime, it is in color, but in black and white at nighttime, but very clear, very accurate in its display. And then the second part is the SAMI app, which I explained earlier, is where the algorithms built into that, and that's where the processing is done in terms of what it's seeing with the movements and things like that. Let's go to the next. So the SAMI picks up movement. You can see the image there. You can see like little red bits. So what that is, it's highlighting the movement that it's seeing, and you can see that person is entirely under the covers. So if someone's under the covers and is moving, it'll still sense the movement of the covers. There's a setting that you can turn on. It's very simple. On the screen, you just touch a button and it highlights what it's seeing as movement. And yeah, in this case, you can see where the movement's taking place. And then what happens is that when it detects movement, you can see that green bar moves up the slider, and the more movement it sees, the higher that green bar goes. When the green bar goes past the black arrow, it starts to fill the red bar up. And then when the red bar gets to its black arrow, then the alarm goes off. And so within the app, you can move those black arrows up and down. So obviously, the higher they are, the more movement and the longer it takes for it to fill the bucket and then sound the alarm. Or again, the lower it is, the less time it's required. Out of the box, I think it's again set for 20 seconds of duration. So the green bar needs to stay above the black arrow for 20 seconds for the alarm to trigger. So you can imagine if that black arrow's up higher, it's going to take a lot more movement for it to get up there and then stay up there for 20 seconds. And conversely, if it's lower, it's less time. And it can detect any form of movement. And there is a sensitivity setting within the app, and then that app actually can be dialed up very high to the point where you can trigger an alarm just from blinking your eyes. But you have to consider by blinking your eyes, if it's sensitive enough to trigger the alarm for that, any other type of movement is going to trigger false alarm. So there's a trade-off here, right? So you can increase the sensitivity, but as that goes up, so do false alarms. So you've got to compromise. We get asked a lot what the best settings are for the SAMI. It's really hard to give someone an exact number of, this is exactly where you need to put it, because every individual's different. Some people sleep more soundly and don't move much. Others toss and turn and flip and flop all night. Probably the one thing to note is that the movement has to be continuous, because while that green bar goes up with the movement, the moment the movement stops, it falls again. So the movement has to stay continued. And that continued movement is consistent with what would happen during a seizure, because a seizure doesn't stop and stop and start. They typically, once they start, they continue until they have stopped. They don't, start for 10 seconds, stop, and then start again and stop. And then that's where this sort of is able then to, that's how it determines the difference between regular moving and seizures, is because of that duration or continuation of the movement. I think I see Celine with the hand up.
Yeah, another question here is,
Yeah.
if you have more than one camera, can it use more than one camera in the app, or is it bound just to one camera?
Nah, sorry, yeah, just the one. Yeah, we have brought that up with the developers, and I know they're working on a. So this is called the Semi 3, and it's the third version of the device. I know they're working on a Semi 4, which will have a few of these additional features. It's not going to be available anytime soon. I think we're probably still talking 12 months or more away. But I do know that split screens was something that was of consideration, but I'm not sure if that's been included in the update or not.
Thank you.
Now, it's one camera, one app.
Yeah.
Sam's got a question.
Yeah, I was just wondering, with the camera, does it also include sound?
You can hear perfectly well, but sound doesn't trigger an alarm. It transmits sound very well, so you can actually hear what's going on, and you can actually turn it up to the point where it's annoying. So it's actually really quite loud on the receiving end, but that sound is not attributed in any way to detecting seizures.
Okay, I've also got another question too, just with the previous devices you've spoken of. Are they compatible with a VNS?
Good question. Again, as I prefaced the whole thing right at the very start, I'm not a medical person, so I couldn't actually answer that. I would probably hazard a guess and say probably not, being that they're wearables and they do have electricity in them. But that would be something that I can definitely find out and come back to Yoni with if that's, yeah.
Yeah, that would be really helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Great question, Sam.
So, yeah, that was, yeah, I'll make a note. I'll ask the manufacturers about that, and yeah, I'll come back. So we're pretty much at the end. I've just got one more slide just with a few other things. So these aren't the sort of monitors, just a few safety things. Have the pillows, the Sleep Sure and the Breathe Easy, and then the drop support, which is often, as in the image here, this child had atonic seizures, which some people call drop seizures. So it was prone to kind of like just falling over randomly. So by having that, it allows the child to have both hands free and feel some level of independence while you're still kind of, got their safety in mind. If they do happen to collapse or fall, you've got your hand on the hoop, on the loop there, ready to soften the fall. So yeah, that's about all I had for today.
Paul, can I just ask with the pillows there, what would be the difference? Like if I was wanting to purchase one, how would I make a choice between the two?
Yeah, sure thing. So the Sleep Sure is a product that we've developed. I feel like in my mind, I mean, I was the developer, right? So I feel like I took the best out of Breathe Easy, and there's another product called Sleep Sure, Sleep Safe out of the UK.
Okay.
I feel like I took the best components out of each and then molded it into the Sleep Sure.
Okay.
It's in terms of the physical size of it, it's essentially the same size within a few millimeters. The softness of it, or maybe the firmness of it, is about the same as the Breathe Easy, pretty much the same. One thing to be mindful of with these types of pillows is that they do need to be reasonably firm to maintain their structure. You don't want them collapsing in, because then it kind of is counter to what you're trying to do. I feel like we have both products, and I feel like the Sleep Sure is the product in terms of usability. It's easier to maintain the cleanliness of it. It doesn't have anything that will actually absorb any moisture or anything. Where the Breathe Easy can. I've actually put Breathe Easy through the washing machine and didn't like it much at all. Where the Sleep Sure is made out of pure polyester fiber, so it's much more durable from that point of view. So I think, it's probably one trust a brand that's been around for a long, long time, or go with the other one.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'll stop the presentation. I know, Paul, one of the questions was around NDIS. Do you have any comments, or does anyone here this evening have any comments around how easy or difficult it has been to access any of these products under the NDIS?
So from our side of things, probably I'd have a stab and say probably 90% of the products that we sell are NDIS funded. Maybe 10% or even less than that are privately funded. It's not very many. I think it was about October last year or September last year when the NDIS or NDIA made some changes to assistive technology funding. That kind of probably took 6 or 8 weeks for people to work out. And then once everyone got their heads around it, sort of got back to normal. It's probably no harder now than it was before to get funding for these devices. There's a few obvious constraints to that. For the products under $1,500 or fall in the low cost range, often that's a very straightforward purchase. You don't need quotes or anything. Typically, it's a low risk, low cost products. Mid-range ones where it gets interesting. So will often depend on your LACs that's working for you with your plan and who your plan manager is. Most have no problem getting it through. Some have some issues getting it through. But basically, if you have a comorbidity to epilepsy, so epilepsy not being your main disability, or not that it's even recognised as a disability, but if you have a condition, so like our daughter Lara, she has a developmental condition. She has a genetic syndrome that's never going to go away. She has a intellectual disability, amongst other things, but seizures is part of that complex of syndrome. Then typically will get funded, or as long as it's written up in the appropriate way. You maybe have to trial it, hire it first to make sure it's the most appropriate device for you. Get a supporting letter from an OT, and typically that's enough. You probably would need to have it written into your plan when you do a plan review that you want to buy seizure alert assistive technology. It need to be written into the plan, but that's usually the process. Sometimes you can have a plan review mid-plan if things change and you have within your buckets, within your funding, you might be able to allocate some of your consumables funding towards one of these. If things have changed, you can get a plan review and get that added in there. So there's a few different ways to go about it. But typically it's not too hard.
Yeah. Okay. No, thank you. Celine, I can see your hand up.
Yeah, just wondering if there are any details on the EpiHunter EEG headband.
Yeah, I didn't include that in here because I said at the start, you may not have been on the call, but I didn't include that because we've submitted that to the TGA for medical device review and to get it listed on the ARTG. So while that's
what does that
mean?
Sorry, it's not available at this point.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. In short, yeah, correct. It shouldn't be too
And
far away.
when will it be available?
It's being reviewed by the government, so it could be anywhere from 1 week to 1 year. But I'm hopeful within the next couple of months.
Okay.
Thank you.
So that's something, Paul, that would then go back up on your website when you have more information. Oh, yeah. Could I ask, could you just let us have an update and we can push that out to our members as well?
Yeah, sure thing.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of the feedback loop to the members. They may not, constantly go back to a website, whereas we can, put out a post or in our newsletter or something like that. That might be helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see there are requests for the presentation. Yep, the slide deck and the recording. Oh, well, I better double check. Paul, the slide deck is. I might not make that decision. I better ask you. You can make that decision.
Yeah, look, I think it's fine. It's being recorded as well, so you'll be able to review that recording. It might be better with the recording because we'll have a bit of narrative around it as well, which might explain it better.
Yeah, perfect. And there was just a comment there. The presentation itself might be helpful in terms of accessibility with various assistive tech to be able to read and see it. So that's fine.
Yeah, sure.
This is not under Seizure Alert Australia. And Paul, I don't know if you're aware of this, but there was a news presentation done only a couple of weeks ago about a product called, and I'm going to get it wrong, so I have to double check. Sorry. Seizure Safe, that is focused on focal seizures. So using a lot of biometrics and other AI. I'm just going to broadly say AI because I don't know all the details exactly. But certainly trying to get, there's some surveys out at the moment in terms of people's experiences and support and what they would be looking for. And then one of the next steps would be around TGA approval and whatnot. So it's certainly one to watch. What I might do is send through, when we distribute the minutes and everything, just information about that. So obviously it's not something that as an organisation or an entity that we can endorse this product or anything like that. What we can do is just let people know about what's out there and the decision then around products and relevant to their personal experiences is an individual one, but just to know that there is some work being done to consider focal seizures as well. So had you heard of that one, Paul? Is that something that's been on your radar at all? Or I'll send you a link about that, because it was on a national segment on the TV, so it's certainly getting a bit of airtime, and it's got quite a few researchers involved from the scientific kind of perspective as well.
Interesting.
So it's just nice to kind of know what's out there, and because at the moment, as you say, there just isn't a lot around focal type seizures. So yeah, that's something for, I think, our community just to be aware of and keep an eye on. But other than that, I apologise for the technology. I'm not great at technology generally, and that obviously didn't help very well tonight. So my apologies. We are running a few minutes late. If anyone had any other questions for Paul, or Paul, are you happy for people to reach out to your company and ask questions as needed?
100%.
Yeah. Lovely.
Really,
Contact
really
details.
Yeah, Sam.
Sorry, just really quick. What was that called, Leonie? That
one was what did I call it? Sorry, Seizure Safe.
Seizure Safe. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yep. No worries at all. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Someone's asked a question there. Did anyone see this question? What was? I just.
Sorry, Matthew. Let's have a look. Do you have a device that can detect atonic seizures before they happen?
Oh, okay. Yeah. No. There's no devices available, I believe, that I'm aware of that give you advance warning of a seizure happening. There's nothing that I've seen that can do that yet. I think it's a bit of a silver bullet, and it's the holy grail of developers, because obviously being given advance warning that something's about to happen would be gold. But at this stage, I don't think there's nothing that I'm aware of anyway.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, I think. Of course, Matthew, we're just hearing around Matthew's son there in the chat having a lot of injuries because of atonic. So atonic being a fall, essentially. Atonic is the loss of muscle tone, if I recall correctly. So certainly something that, and often without warning for those particular seizure types. So that can be very problematic. And yeah, certainly injury is one of the biggest issues with that particular type of seizure. Yeah, sorry to hear that, Matthew. Okay, well, if there's no other questions, again, I thank very much, Paul, for your time and your expertise and for talking to us about those devices and answering the questions that we had tonight. I will share the information with our community so that's other people would be interested in this particular information and navigating which particular devices might be of assistance and how to acquire those, perhaps through NDIS or other means. But certainly, yeah, very informative presentation tonight. So thank you very much. And thank you, everybody, for bearing with us and being here this evening. Thank you.
Thanks
Have a great night,
much.
everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.